Hi, welcome to Dice Control Dojo. I'm Phil and I practice every day and share my tips so we can all get better at the casino. Today we're talking about the landing zone. All right, so our series today is going to talk a lot, or this upcoming ones, about what the dice do when they land. So our previous videos were about what happens when the dice are in the air. If you're following just air, what's happening in the air. So if you're videotaping and you're seeing what they're doing while they're in the air, go back and check those videos. If you're having a problem, that should be able to help you fix it. Now, this is what happens when they land. Just landing. It's not what the dice do, per se, but it's what happens when they land. What does that look like at that spot? It's a couple of problems that happen when your dice land. And as with me, I like to pretend that I am only focusing on that landing zone. That's what I should be doing each and every time, right? So if they don't land right where I want them, and I'm not looking at what's happening in the air, in that case, I didn't see what happened in the air. I was just focused on that little chip right there. I want to know, if I missed it, what happens and how do I fix it? So what happened on that last throw? I was over here. So what caused that? Why did it go to the left or the right? We're going to discuss all the different issues we have, but today it's missing the target. All right, so what happens if you miss the target? What caused that target miss? All right, so as I was practicing this morning and doing my runs, I wasn't hitting the landing zones where I wanted to. So I needed to get back to basics, right? Pulling out my 1 hour practice sheet. What am I doing? I'm throwing those dead cats to get my judgment on the back wall. Then I'm doing my 9 spots. So that's when I have those 9 different dice. If you can go, chips, you can go back and watch how I do my 9 throws. So I can get my large muscle group to work properly. So in this case, I threw it over to the right. It's all large muscle. So when we're talking about landing, right, if it's to the right or the left, right, missing that target, that's your large muscle group not throwing it where you wanted to. All right. If it's in front of or behind the dice, the chip, that's a speed thing and an arc thing, and we'll talk about that. But let's talk about one thing at a time. So I threw to the right on that opening one, right? So what happened there? I was dead looking at that target. So when I do the turn and I'm looking, I'm focusing. I got my shooting eye looking at that chip, right? What happened to that dice? Well, did I come out too far, out away from the dice? Is my thumb not pointing where I want it? So it could be a large muscle, or it could have been that thumb isn't pointed where it was supposed to be, right? Because we talk about 2 things. We're talking about your large muscle going in the direction you want, and your thumb on the release. Remember, it's centrifugal force, but that thumb should be right aligned with that chip. If it was out here, which it probably was, I was throwing a large out there, or I threw it and the thumb wasn't perpendicular to the ground. So 2 things with that. Was I out to the right because was I coming out at an angle like this and didn't throw it straight? So the correction to that is making sure you're throwing right down. I'm throwing on that chip, so I'm following these lines right along here. And so when you come back to practice and you're doing your swing, is your swing aligned with the line that you're looking at? If it's off at an angle, that's what's going to happen. So make sure when you're throwing you're aligned with the line you want to throw it at. So that's the first correction, if it goes to the left or the right. The other thing is, were you over enough to the target that you're looking at? So with this case, my target's right here. And if I follow this up, I have to make sure I'm directly over and down so that my arm does go straight and my thumb does stay straight. If I'm back here and I'm doing that, it's going at an angle and it may turn, right? If I'm too far over and I'm coming over this way, it's going to go miss this way. So you have to make sure you're back to a line. So the left and right miss is a large muscle and thumb thing. You got to make sure they're all aligned. So on your practice every day, if you're noticing you're missing the target one way or another, your next day practice would be working on those. Maybe do 18 of those 9 spots. Do 2 rows of them or 3 rows of them, just to kind of get back on track and make sure you're in charge. If you're on the table and you missed your target, just get back to basics. Just remember what line you're going to be aiming at, and then get back to basics and just let your, muscle memory and mental memory remember what you're doing. So I'm just looking about hitting the target today, right? Missing the target and how to correct it. Left and right, large muscle or thumb. Pay attention to that. What happens when you go over and you're going too far? You're dead catting. You're not hitting the zone. That's once again a large muscle. If you're on the table, are you too excited? You got to relax, right? Do some breathing. While they have the dice and you saw, oh my God, I overthrew that, don't underthrow. The next one is you're going to be shorty McShort, and you can't do that. They want you hitting the back wall. So if you're shorty McShort, I guarantee you're going to throw a 7. That's why controlled dice throwers don't want to be short, because I usually throw a 7 on the next one if I'm too short. So don't overcompensate that. If you're going too hard, get back to basics. What are you doing? Breathe. Relax. Take a breath. If you spun it, if it went way too hard and you almost dead cat it, then hopefully, like that. I overthrew that. But my next throw, I'm not going to try and underthrow it. I'm just going to get back to basics. What's my typical speed and what's my typical arc? So when you throw that, was my arc too hard? Did I throw too hard? Was my arc too high? Did I get back to the arc? Was my speed too much? Did I whip it? All right, you got to figure that out. When you're practicing at home, videotape it and you can see if your throw was not the same. This should be the same every single time. Every single time. This is muscle memory. Every single time. Now you may have a few inches here and there, but it should be the same. So if you're overthrowing, you're excited. Your muscles are excited. Relax. Deep relax. If you're short, is it your angle? Right? Did you come short because you released too high? That may be back to finger issues, that you're releasing too high, or your pressure is off a little bit. When you're short, it could also be you got nervous and you just want to make sure you're not overthrowing, so you throw light. You throw light. Remember, it's centrifugal force that's bringing it, so once in a while you are going to throw short, and that's okay, but you have to get back to basics. So I'm saying, if you're landing to the left and the right, that's a directional thing and a thumb thing. If you're short or tall, too long or too short, you got to relax. You've got to get your deep breathing in, your gut to calm down, and you got to get back to, all right, visualizing what that throw is. So when you're on the table and you're underthrowing or overthrowing, while they're paying out, get your bets up, relax, take a couple deep breaths, and visualize that next throw. What's that going to look like? My next throw, it's going to be the same throw I've done 10,000 times. It's going to be a nice Nice, easy throw. All right? And that should really get you back on track. If you're constantly overthrowing when you're practicing at home, that's something you got to get back to basics and make sure you're working that out. So, conclusion. Left to right, large muscle group, thumb issue, making sure they're on target. Short or tall, or long, those are your, really it's about your relaxation techniques on making sure you're getting back to basics on your throw. It's as simple as that. All right. We don't want to overthink all the other little things that could be happening. It's really about speed, arc, and large muscle group. So I hope this helped. If you have any comments, please let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Maybe I missed something and I can talk about it tomorrow. So join me tomorrow where we're going to talk about what happens in the landing when the dice land together to the left or the right. So a little bit different, not how the dice, what the dice action is, but what happens when they land, if you can see that and how you can fix it. So join me tomorrow. And as always, the best betting strategy, because I never talk about betting strategy, I say the best betting strategy is to practice, to be perfect, and throw, so you can throw for a long, long time.